Hi there, today I'm going to be reacting to InnerSpeaker by Tame Impala. I'm continuing with Tame Impala's discography. If you haven't already seen it, I made a video on lonerism, which I really enjoyed, and it seems like a majority of the people in the comments wanted me to continue with InnerSpeaker. Seems like people really like this album, and it's always interesting to see an artist debut, so I'm down. I had a quick look at the track list, and I don't think I know any of these songs unless I do and I just don't remember the title, but I think I'm going in with a blank slate, which is exciting. As always, feel free to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy the video. Feel free to follow me on social media, and this whole album reaction will be up uncut on Patreon if you're interested in supporting the channel. Let's get into it with It Is Not Meant to Be. I already feel like I'm like going into a trance.
But she doesn't like it. She doesn't like the lead. And I boast that it is meant to be, but in all honesty, I don't have a hope in hell. I'm happy just to watch her. She doesn't like the friends that I made, doesn't make friends for friendship's sake. She just gets bored sitting by the lake. Her soul won't surface and her heart won't ache. And I boast that it is meant to be. I'm happy just to watch her. His disease, but in honesty, he didn't have hope in
I just realized I didn't say anything that whole time. So that sounded really beautiful. It felt really mesmerizing. Tame Impala is definitely the kind of artist that kind of just like puts you into a trance. It also felt really groovy. I liked the bass in that song. One thing I noticed while listening to Lonerism is that his music feels really calming and really tense at the same time, and I don't really know how he pulls both off at the same time, but he does, and that definitely applies here. I'm happy just to watch her move is a strangely romantic line. That being said, the lyrics in the song are pretty sad. It's one of those sounds upbeat but is actually pretty sad kind of songs. Good opener. Love it. I already feel myself getting like completely lost in the music though, and I need to stay focused. So, all right, let's move on to Desire Be, Desire Go. This already feels a lot grittier than the opener, which I enjoy. I love those parts where the vocal melody and the guitar melody match up. The lyrics on this song remind me a lot of what we saw on Lonerism. It seems like this one is kind of just about like the routine of everyday life, kind of feeling disconnected from other people, trying to find a meaning. It's definitely heavier than the opener. I love the distortion on the guitar. It is still like really fun and really catchy though. Like I said, specifically that part where the guitar melody matches up with the vocal melody. I think that that's super addictive to listen to. The temptation to like space out and close my eyes is really strong so far. This music feels like a warm blanket, and I'm gonna have to force myself to stay awake in a good way. This is like one of the rare occasions where I say that music making me sleepy is a good thing. It's just so relaxing. All right, next track is Alter Ego. So that one's probably my favorite so far. It's very hypnotizing. It has a really nice atmosphere. It's like smooth, it's fuzzy. It sounds great, but it also has really thoughtful lyrics. Um, I like that it sounds so good that it could get by on just its vibe, but it has that extra layer of meaningful lyrics. It seems like it's kind of about the struggle of wanting to be more socially outgoing, but just not being able to. Like, when the one for my dream is sitting right next to me and I don't know what to do, the only one who's really judging you is yourself. I think that those lyrics are like super, super relatable to a lot of people, including myself. So yeah, let's get into Lucidity. it sounds like whatever the opposite of lucid is. Um I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, like fuzzy, unclear. Um it's like dizzying. It sounds a little dizzying, which is ironic since it's called Lucidity. It sounds very psychedelic. Go figure, a psych rock album is psychedelic. It also feels kind of summery. Like I could picture myself listening to this on the beach or something. The lyrics for this one also seem a little bit more cryptic than the others. I kind of had a little bit harder of a time following along, but I think that that's obviously intentional given the meaning of the song. So, yeah, let's move on to Why Won't You Make Up Your Mind? Sounds really pretty. I really enjoyed how the song really exploded there at the end. Um, I liked the panning in that song and the way that the song kind of like swirls around. Um, it's just super hypnotic. There's so much reverb in this music. It makes me feel like my head is like empty and the song is bouncing around in there. Um, which is kind of true. It's hollow in here. Speaking of head empty, this is gonna sound really silly, but I was thinking that I'm actually kind of glad that I didn't hear this music when it first came out, because when I was younger, I listened to music solely for the lyrics. I treated music like it was poetry, and if it sounded good, then that was an added bonus, but I was a lyric kind of person through and through. And don't get me wrong, there are some great lyrics on this album, but I feel like songs like this specifically that are very, sound focused would have gone completely over my head. Like I would have never given this the attention it deserved. That being said, the lyric, "Am I wasting my time living in my head? You'll be sorry when I make up mine instead," is very good. Let's get into Solitude Is Bliss.
Cracks in the pavement underneath my shoe. I care less and less about and less about you. No one else around to look at me, so I can look at my shadow as much as I please. Close to
So that one is probably my favorite. Um, these lyrics kind of sound like something I would have quoted on my Tumblr in 2014. The lyrical theme on this album, or at least on some songs on this album, is very similar to lonerism. I don't know if that's like a consistent theme throughout his music, but so far these two albums that I've heard are covering very similar ground. This was a fun song. I really enjoyed it. I thought that again the panning was really cool. I think that it works here because this music is so retro inspired and it really reminds me of that. This is also, I feel like, kind of like a weird abstract thing to say. I don't know if this is going to make any sense, but the reverb in these songs works really well for me because it kind of feels like when you have that like inner voice echoing around inside your head, and like I feel like it recreates how overwhelming that can feel. I just think it works well since a lot of these lyrics are kind of like inner monologues, um which I guess is why the album is called InnerSpeaker. But yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't really know how to put that into words. Let's move on to Jeremy's Storm. Oh man, I like how it sounds like wind. And the track is called Jeremy's Storm. That's very cool. I feel like I'm getting taken on a journey right now. Okay, that was a nice instrumental. I feel like I just got taken on an adventure. It definitely feels very grand and very epic. I don't know if I would ever really return to it on its own, but as part of the album, I do enjoy it. I feel like it might go on a little bit too long for my taste, but it's no biggie. Um, I will say again that these songs feel very enjoyable and very tense at the same time, and it's a really unique atmosphere. It's like it's hard to describe how this music is making me feel. Um, this album would have made for a great 420 video, but that's never gonna happen. The video would be like 6 hours long, and it would make no sense, but I feel like it would have been fitting. Let's get into Expectation.
Everything you ever told me could have been a lie. We may never have been enough. Stuck on thinking that there is always something to lose or a hit from above. I don't need what I'm holding,
Those drums. I feel like I might have heard this one before. Is this a single? I don't know. I feel like I might have heard this before. This sounds kind of familiar. Don't know why. So that's another favorite. I'm not really sure why, but that one hit me. Um, it's a really nice, pretty song, but the lyrics are really sad. Again, it's not like so much just about loneliness and isolation, but it's about the desire for more and the longing to not be so lonely, but not being able to do anything about it. And I was just thinking during that song that I really need to watch a Tame Impala live performance because I would like to see how that works. So that is something I will have to do after this video. All right, let's get into The Bold Arrow of Time. Okay. There's not a whole lot to unpack lyrically on that one, but I do really like how it kind of kicks it up a notch in the second half there. Yeah, the middle to ending section of that one felt kind of euphoric. Um, it's cool. It kind of felt like I was floating a little bit. It's very, very 60s. It kind of made me feel like I was like at Woodstock, stoned off my ass or something. So, yeah, liked it. Let's move on to Runway Houses City Clouds. I do really appreciate that this is kind of transforming as it goes on, since I think this is the longest song, if I'm remembering right. This one appears to be about a plane with the I'm gazing out the window as I ascend into the sky. It seems to be about leaving home. I like how it starts off with more energy and it becomes a lot more spacey as it goes on. I'll say it again, it felt like I was getting hypnotized. Don't know what that feels like, but I imagine it's something like this. And you know, next time I'm on a plane, I will be queuing this up. I guarantee that. Alright. So we're on to the final track. That actually felt like it went by really quickly. Let's get into I Don't Really Mind.
Shifting, shifting, shifting a lot like it makes so much difference to me. Perfect, perfect, marching around like I know how much better it should be. But I don't really mind. But I don't really mind. But childhood puppy is old and gruff. Your mother wants to give him away. Pillar of strength was lifted off his deathbed 3 weeks ago today. But I don't really mind.
This is odd. I feel like I just like skipped to a whole different album by accident.
Really mind. But I don't really mind. But I don't really mind. But I don't really mind.
You guys might know by now that I have kind of a pet peeve for fade outs, but that's just a me problem. It's not an objective critique or anything. So first of all, why is childhood puppy is old and gruff, your mother wants to give him away kind of the saddest lyric ever? So that synth part that kind of like works as the bridge is odd, but I think I like it. It kind of feels like it's like waking me up after the album, so I don't know. I think it works. It's a little out of place, but it's fine. I thought that the closer on Lonerism was also kind of odd and out of place, so maybe this is just what he does, but I do like this one better. It's definitely not one of my favorite tracks by any means. Maybe my least favorite, but maybe it'll grow on me and it's fine. Okay. Favorite tracks. Let me look at the track list. So I feel like my favorites are Solitude Is Bliss, Expectation, and Why Won't You Make Up Your Mind? I'll go with those three for now. So yeah, this album really worked for me today. I can't say exactly how I feel about it compared to Lonerism until I have more time with it, but I feel like on first listen, it is on par, maybe. I am really excited to hear the rest of his discography now. I find going into a Tame Impala album, or at least reacting to a Tame Impala album, is kind of intimidating because it is kind of like mood music. Like it's kind of hard to react to and make an entertaining video. It's kind of hard to like, I don't know, I feel like it's hard to make a reaction video too. I don't know how this is going to turn out. I know it's probably not the most entertaining video ever, but I had a great time listening to it and hopefully that came through. Yeah, I don't know if I'm just like in the right mood for this kind of music tonight, but I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, let me know how you feel about the album. Let me know what your favorite tracks are. Let me know if there are any like live performances from these first couple of eras that I should watch, because I am interested in that. Yeah. As always, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, check out my social media, and feel free to subscribe to the Patreon if you're interested. Hope you have a great rest of your night. Goodbye.